Waiting for the notification to tell me I'm live. Come on. Is the bot not working? It's definitely been enough time now, so I'm gonna guess that I'm live. If I'm not and this stream starts mid-sentence, I'll be quite upset. But welcome everyone to JVL Tier 2. We're back for round 7, so somehow already gotten through 7 rounds this, well, we've gone through 6, about to be 7. I've got to adjust the title real quick. I've just got to put tier 1, not tier 2. Yeah. Yeah, just waiting on a couple more drivers. I think we have 17 in here at the moment. We're looking for about 19, I think, said they were available this week. So, yeah, only 3 more to go. Looks like they're just sorting it all out with people's invites and stuff not working, not receiving them, to just restarting PlayStations and all that. We have Alex here now, only 2 more to go. One of which is Banter Brandon. The other, I think, is Banana Josh. It also says we're waiting on Seismics, but someone's oh. No, still no one said that Seismics can't come. That would make a full grid though. Interesting. But just quickly talk about the track a bit. It's China. It's actually not one that comes up too often in league racing, in all fairness. A lot of people tend to neglect it a bit, mostly because it's not the best track for overtaking. You obviously have the long back straight, and then you have the first turn if you can get close enough, but it's kind of hard to get close enough through there, so yeah. Yeah, I think it tends to get ignored a bit purely for those reasons, but it's whatever, I guess, to be completely honest. Just see who's commented. I'll just grab the stream quick, give me a second. Oh, it's Yuppe saying yay champ commented. Yuppe, the bot didn't work and it hasn't put the stream in announcements or social media, wherever it goes, so could you do something about that please? And who's this other guy who's clicked spectator? Ah, speak of it, Miyake's done it. He's on it. Yeah, basically the bot didn't work, so yeah. Hopefully a few more people can come into chat now. Now that the stream's been put up in JVL server. Let's have a look. We are readying up. So I don't know who this Venezuelan guy is who's also spectating. I'm assuming some kind of engineer. And we didn't even get all the drivers that said they could come, so unfortunately internet and console issues getting in the way there. Yeah, look at the numbers starting to come up now. We have 7 viewers. Hello to everyone just joining. We're about to get into qualifying in a second, so should be an interesting one. Gonna definitely be quite an interesting qualifying. Obviously I haven't commentated at all this season in this tier. I literally just got asked to do it, so it won't be a regular thing. I won't be commentating every week, but you've got me this week. So yeah, going to be a learning experience for me because I'm not fully aware of everyone's pace and all that. JVL bot has finally woken up, and now they've got 2 pings. Let me arguably it is. Let's see, just waiting on everyone to get their setups ready and get to track. We'll see who's on the first driver to get onto the track. While we're waiting, just sort all this out. And that. So let me just open up the stream again. Hi, Gotch. Hello, welcome to the stream. Just waiting to see who's going to be the first car on track at the moment. No one really wants to go on track. That kind of suggests to me that maybe there's some kind of weather going to get involved in this race at some point. It was one of the lower down teams. I think it was a Renault or a Haas that got out first. It was Alex and the Haas. So we're going to ride on board with him for his out lap and first lap. As long, well, if he gets around the track first and all that. Whoever is the first person to start a flying lap, I'll ride on board with, and I'll go through the lap a bit. But yeah, just looking at these guys who are currently on track. We have soft, 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 and then medium for Mikhail, and medium for Alex. So only a couple of medium runners there. Going to be interesting to see what strategies they go for, whether they're just doing it to save a set of softs for the race. Could be an interesting strategy, maybe looking to go soft to hard, or maybe a 2-stop. Most likely a 2-stop if they're trying to save a set of softs, I'd imagine. But yeah. That's a big bit of curve he's just taken there. But preparing for the start of his lap now, Alex. He'll go through the final corner, hopefully doesn't invalidate, one of the easiest places to invalidate on this track, but he's all good now. DRS opens, he starts his lap, it's a pretty short run down to turn 1, the long snaily turn 1. You want to brake and turn at the same time, you're always going down the gears, just adjusting your brake amount as you turn into the apex of 1, opening up 2. You want to kind of short shift out of 2 to give you the best traction. The Arca gives me another invite for some reason, and using all of the track width on the exit, now you want to come up to the hairpin. It's a really kind of a strange hairpin, this, the curve on the inside, very strange shape. You kind of want to apex in the middle to a little bit late, again using all the track and the width, and you want to maximise the track width on entry, use the apex so it gives you the best line for the next corner as well here. Into 5th gear here for Alex, he's going to get over back to the right, and into 3rd as he comes into the double left-hander. He uses a bit of curve there, wouldn't really recommend that. But open it back up, not using much of the exit there either, which he could find a bit more time from doing. Really awkward set of corners here. He's taking it in 2nd gear, maybe would have been better if he'd short shifted to 3rd for a bit of grip through the long right hander into this long straight. DRS opening quite a way down it actually here, so going to be up at the top of 8th gear by the time we get to the end of the straight. Heavy braking for the hairpin just at the end of that curve, and he misses the apex a bit there. So it's going to make the exit really awkward and tight for him. Again, using all of the track width on the left, coming back over to the right, using curb on entry, all of the curb in the middle and curb on exit. Maybe be a bit slower than he'd have liked to take it, but the first lap of the session was a 1:32.4. It's quickly pipped by Joseph Murados. I'm just going to Joseph. With a 1:30.6, which is the first soft tyre time of the session. We also have a couple of invalidated runs here. But we have Mikhail, who's not looking quite so confident for that final sector. He's going to cross the line, and it is a 48.3. So I don't know if he messed up on that lap or what happened. Again, more invalidations. We have Seismics on the lap, so he did get into the session. We also have his teammate Jose on the lap, just slightly ahead on track. So we'll see what Jose's able to do. His Mercedes is coming up to cross the line soon. Looks like it's going to be Yuppie. He puts himself in P2 with a 31.5 on that medium tyre again. So quite a few people actually opting for that medium tyre. So let's see what they're able to do in the race with that extra set of softs. Should they use it, or if it's just because they can use the medium to their first run. It's going to be a 31.3 there from Jose. Very nice lap. Puts him ahead of Yuppie. Just behind Mr. Pep. Mr. Pep with a very impressive lap considering that he was only the second runner here on soft, so he's only just under 0.3 back from the current provisional pole. So I know everyone else is on mediums, but that's usually a decent spread considering you're on the same tyre, but it's going to be interesting to see whether that hurts them in the race at all, having used that extra set of soft Seismics also on the soft tyre, going purple in sector 1. Another driver on a lap who's invalidated the lap, in fact, so it won't count, but is Zab. He's called Zab now, because I'm not saying that. I don't know how. But it's all eyes on Seismics then, as he's the only driver on a current valid lap. We'll see where he goes. So he actually validates there on the exit using a bit too much curb. It's going to be unfortunate. He's going to have to come into the pits and stick on a fresh set of tyres as Joseph goes even faster. Or is it just glitched? It is just glitched, I think. Just saying fastest lap at the bottom there permanently. Looking at who's on their outlap, we have Racing Juice on his outlap. We also have Ezio on his outlap and Kazuchi. I think Ezio's the furthest through the lap out of the guys in their outlaps. So we'll ride on board with him for the next section. Ezio is a bit Ezio Auditore, a little bit of a throwback name for anyone who's played some of the older Assassin's Creed games. But see what he's going to be able to do here in the Williams. Interesting, only 7 guys have set a lap time in the first 7 minutes of this session then. So kind of maybe indicating that people are struggling with track limits. Which could be quite interesting come the race, because of course you know penalties are very important when it comes to the end of a race. You know, if you have 3-6 seconds of penalties, that could be multiple positions that you lose. If you're right in a tight group or pack, you can a DRS train or race, so it will be quite interesting to see where these guys all end up after it's all been sorted out. As Murphy, then the third driver on the soft tyre to complete a lap, is a 1:31.0. So that's only about 0.3 quicker than Jose on the medium. So that's got to have him worried, you would imagine. But we'll watch the rest of Ezio's lap. He's on the medium tyre, so he's more competing with the likes of Jose, Yuppie, and Alex than he is Joseph, Pep, and Murphy. But he has put in a solid middle sector there. I'd ignore the fact that it says it's gone purple. The game glitches and it says you always go purple through the middle sector, so it's not really any kind of actual indication, unfortunately. But we'll just have to see how the rest of his lap is. A small lock up there into the hairpin, that's going to cost him some time, a couple of tenths most likely. He's had a bit of a difficult exit as a result of that lock-up, and it's going to definitely cost me a bit of time. And 1:30.9 though from Ezio, and that has actually put him in that group that I was saying that he probably wouldn't be looking to compete in. So he's ahead of Mr. Pep there. Put himself in the front row with the medium compound tyre. And maybe he's looked at that and this maybe thinking that he should try qualifying on the mediums to start with. Obviously, some people will try and set their fastest lap on the mediums because the best strategy around here is the medium to hard strategy. Probably not likely that too many people will get through on the mediums. I think there's going to be a few more people setting some times on softs, like Kazuchi, who is not far behind Joseph on track, I don't think. He is on the soft tyre, so we'll watch what he's able to do as he comes through this middle sector. Of course, I'll ignore the fact that it probably is going to tell me he's set at purple. There you go. But 51.2, that's looking fairly solid for this grid so far. So definitely in contention at the moment in the McLaren. There's a few more guys set times now of 11 drivers with completed times. A lot of medium runners here, but as I was saying, strategy for the race, medium hards is probably the best strategy, but it's also very viable to go soft hard. I'd say if you really wanted to, you would go to hards to soft, from hards to soft, starting on that hard tyre, staying in a DRS train or a group, and then getting a big overcut and nice fresh tyres at the end. As Kazuchi 31.1, so not the lap he would have been looking for there, only putting 5th place on the soft tyre, and that's his 2nd lap on that set of tyres, so he will have to try and improve on that one. With his next run he will have time for another run. Most of these guys will have time for another run. Seismic's coming down the back straight now with GSF actually at the end of the back stretch. We'll just switch over to him for a second. Going to come up towards the final corner here to see how aggressively he takes it. It was alright. Definitely could have been a lot more committed, but it is going to be provisional pole with 1:30.4, and that is 2/10 quicker than Joseph, so not even close really. Seismic's now crosses the line. I think his lap isn't valid, unfortunately, unless he's got the glitch where it just says he's not on an out lap, which is also very possible. As Miyake crosses the line, he goes 8th place in a set of mediums, 1:31.4. Just 3rd out of all of the medium runners so far. Very solid lap there from Miyake. As we move on to, let's have a look what Alex is doing as he gets towards the end of his lap. Much better, but the exit was fairly horrible. He downshifted the first way too late, and that messed up his short shift. He's way off the track coming out the final corner. Somehow manages to keep it valid, but it's a 1:31.6. That's 10th place only on a set of softs. So not what he was looking for at all. There's who else is going to be on a lap? I think it's going to just be these guys on laps. So we've got Mikhail, Daniel, Seismic's maybe going for another lap, and Vicky all on laps at the moment. We'll go to the front of that queue with Mikhail as someone joined. Racing Juice has joined the lobby, so just in time to set up as Mikhail actually backs out of that, and loads of people joining us. So we now have the 19 drivers that we were promised earlier. Daniel coming to complete his lap, so 1:32.4. That's only good enough for 14th place. As Seismic crosses the line, he goes provisional pole with the 29.5, nearly a second ahead of GSF's time. So by a long way, provisional pole position there for Seismic. And that's his lap assessment. Got a lot of people leaving and joining. It's kind of strange. Kazuchi is going to get his wheel. Kazuchi has left it. So yeah, I don't know what's going on with the connections in today's race. I'll just go and check that everyone's getting invites that they need. So that's really just everyone coming to the pits now. They're going to be waiting for the right time to go out their final laps. So we will have a little bit of a gap here where no one's really setting times. Unfortunately, that's just the nature of qualifying, as we have one of the Red Bulls going out of track. I think that's Zab, and one of the racing points going out too. If it looks like Jose, because Seismix was still on the track. So yeah, these guys will be the first guys to complete their final runs, you'd imagine. I've just read something mad. What? Gran Turismo to become an Olympic sport. Hold on. I know this is an F1 stream, but hold on. No way. What? So, the Olympics and the FIA have agreed to let an Olympic event happen, like Olympic motorsport, happen on Gran Turismo Sport, the game. That's mad. What? Okay, but just coming, Jose starting his lap now, so we'll ride on board with Jose. Of course, now on that soft tyre, was for a long time in this the fastest medium runner before he got outdone by Ezio there. And, oh, it's very wide, he's on the grass, and he's round. That's not going to be what he needed. He does have time to go back round again if he has the fuel though. So hopefully for him, he can get back round and do another lap. Who else? Mr. Pep starting a lap. We'll run on board with this for a bit. As his teammate Mikhail also is on a flying lap, slightly ahead, but Mr. Pep's a lot further up the leaderboard, unfortunately. Can you drop me an invite, Vicky? Oh, sorry, I didn't see that arrow. But glad you got an invite now. As Juppé retires after putting it P2, so he's thinking that's the best he can do, and is hoping to stay on that second row of the grid for the rest of this qualifying session. He retired in the pits, so it was voluntary. We'll have to see what everyone else does from now on. Just looking, Mr. Pep coming towards the end of the lap. He is improving by about 2/10, which would be good enough to move him up one position to 5th, but not much more unless he can find some more time in this final sector. He took a very wide line there through the long right-hander, so not ideal at all, because all he's done is he's extended the distance he's had to drive. The Seismic believes that that's enough for him in today's qualifying session, and retires from the session. A fairly clean run through the final sector here from Mr. Pep, and it's going to be a 30.7, so he did only improve by about 2/10, and it's P5 only from Mr. Pep. He does have time for another run, but I don't think he's got the fuel or ERS, and he's on the grass, so I don't think Kent's going to come. As Joseph Madraslo, Joseph is at the end of his lap. It's a 1:30.3, so it's a 3/10 improvement that moves him up to the 4th place. Racing Juice up into P2 with his lap. So on the front row, moving Juppé down to 3rd. He's still about 4/10 off of the time set by Seismic though. So still a lot of work to do. Miyake up into 6th place on a flying lap. He's gone 2/10 quicker in the first sector alone. That would be enough to put him on the second row of the grid, and he's still got 2 sectors to find more time. So looking good here for Miyake so far. Let's see what he can do. It's not the line I'd take through there, as he comes through the double left hand now. Oh, big mistake there. That's going to lose him a lot of time on the run down to the second sector split. And he's now not up on his time anymore, so he has to do it in this final sector if he wants to improve his position on the grid. Just coming through the long right hand, and now not the greatest line ever. He had a small snap of oversteer that he had to correct, and that's really offset his line, made him travel a much further distance than he needed. He's now coming down the long straight. It's going to cost him time all the way down here for sure. But breaking into the hairpin now, he's going to just get it turned in second gear. Short shift on the exit. And he's run very wide. He's invalidated the final corner, so it will not be an improvement here from Miyake as he shows his frustration there. And Joseph and Racing Juice, really the last guys on laps. Neither of them going to complete their laps. Hopefully they just cross the line and end the session. Looks like Racing Juice is going to drive into the pits and Joseph is going to follow him. So we will just have to wait for the pit lane to sort these guys out, unfortunately, which is going to take a bit. But oh well, it would be way better if they just crossed the line and ended the session, but what can we do? But that's it, that's going to be it, the final order for the grid then. 2 drivers yet to set times, that's Panta Brandon and Vicky. Unfortunately, I think I read in the comments that Vicky had his game crash as soon as he went for an outlap, so yeah, this game does suck, unfortunately. It's just not really, the multiplayer is just not very well optimised, and it's it's just really negatively affects the whole game, especially when you look at esports and you see issues with desync and stuff in esports. I can't believe that they've let this pass in their game, but oh well. Looking at the final order for the grid then, we have Seismix on pole with Racing Juice alongside him. Yuppie and Joseph on the second row, nearly a second back from our pole time, with GSF and Miyake also just fitting within that 1 second here on the third row. Alex, the first driver outside that 1 second, very close with Mr. Pep, only 300th separating them for P7 and 8, with Ezio managing to get into the top 10 on medium tyres. That's going to be huge for his strategy in the race, and Murphy running out the top 10. With a free choice of tyres, we have Kaizachi, Mikhail, Jose, Zab, McDusty, Daniel, Vlado, Banter Brandon, and Vicky rounding out the grid there. So, going to be interesting to see what goes on with strategy here. I think Ezio's definitely got the strategy. He's in the best position strategy wise with how it's looking. I would it's kind of hard to tell, to be honest. Like, I would say that the medium hard strategy is better, but I don't know if it's that much better or if it's better enough to risk trying to qualify inside the top 10 on them. Obviously he has got inside the top 10, so that will work out for him, but P8, I mean, if you just think about where he could be if he chose the softs like everyone else did, we'll have to see how it works out for him, but I kind of feel like it's going to be a bit 50-50, especially being in that midfield coming into the turn 1 and the first lap in general, on whether that choice is going to pay off for him. But we have a long race ahead to find out, so I wouldn't worry about it too much now. As we get away for the formation lap, very exciting stuff. Just going to quickly check what's going on outside the top 10 when it comes to tyres. Oh, interesting. So Kaizachi and Mikhail gone for the softs, which I'm not sure about. But then P13 down to P17, all on mediums, and P19 also choosing the medium tyre. But P18 Vicky with the hard tyre, yeah, I think that could work for him. Honestly, it's, I think, probably the best strategy to have at this track. The hard to soft or hard to medium, whichever one you choose. But yeah, I think that hard tyre could be a very good choice as long as he can stay with the rest of the grid. You can see Seismic's absolutely bombing it on his outlap. He's just realised though that Racing Juice not in such a hurry to get round to the grid, and that's left quite a large gap here. And that large gap is just going to mean that when they do get to the grid, Seismic's tyres are going to be cooling down for a long time before everyone's in position. That gap has now closed, so it's not going to be an issue. But we have one of the Hasses trying the same thing as Alex, just trying to make a gap to the cars ahead of him, looking for an advantage on tyre temps which will give a better start. And it is a fairly effective strategy, to be fair. Cold tyres do hurt a lot, especially on race starts and into the first few corners. But I don't think it's a very accepted tactic, to be fair. A lot of leagues have rules in place where you have to be within 10 car lengths of the car ahead to prevent you being outside of a 10 car length gap, and I believe they choose 10 car lengths because that's what it is in real life. As Juppe and Racing Juice get disqualified and sent back to the grid, that's going to hurt them a lot, because from now on their tyres are just going to be cooling down more and more and more for the rest of this formation lap. So these guys not looking like they're going to have the best starts. Just going to check in JVL about the formation lap rules. Is a whole section for it. Section 2, I would know, I wrote them. And here we are, getting ready for some lights. Hopefully we get a better... No? Okay, that's just the sort we got, but we have 5 red lights here in China. And we are away for the start of the Chinese Grand Prix. It's a very slow getaway for Seismics. Slow reactions there, and that's allowed Racing Juice to get up into the lead. But it's been a huge start there from Joseph. Joseph already looking up the inside. He's not managed to get it there. Racing Juice just outbraking him. There's a bit of contact in the back though. And Racing Juice with the outside line has struggled a lot. And Mr. Pep has found his way through into the lead. Brilliant start there from Mr. Pep, just positioning his car perfectly through turn 1, and Seismics is out. So our pole sitter has retired from the race. Looks like on the exit of turn 1, and what's going on? He's manually retired, I think. He's pressed the retire button and caused a collision with one of the back markers. As a result, we have more yellows, but that's not in this section of the track, so they will continue racing. We have the Red Bull of Zab up the inside of Vicky there. Vicky already making up so many positions on the start there on those hard tyres, managing to keep out of trouble by the looks of it too, with not too much damage. Vlado now attacking him into the double left-hander. We'll have to see as one of the Hasses is very wide off the track, and there's a bit more contact there for someone, didn't see who, but yeah, just looks as Vicky now up the inside of Zab. So Vicky winning the fight against Vlado and already turning his attention to Zab. There's contact there, and that's ruined both of their exits effectively, and that means that there's now going to be 3 wides that come down the straight. Another situation that's 3 wide up ahead is Murphy, Alex, and was Kaizachi, but Kaizachi had the straight line speed to get ahead, turns into the corner and has the room for Murphy. Alex and Murphy now side by side on the exit of the hairpin. Alex looking like he's going to get the advantage into the front corner. Alex pits. Alex has damage, so he will pit. And if you just give me a second, I will turn down the audio a couple of clicks. So back to the front, Mr. Pep with a great lead in this race, as it isn't lap 3, it's lap 2. As actually Pep has damage, so our leader does have damage, so it's a bit of a damage limitation race for him. And I've just realised, as the leaderboard glitches, that is Ezio in P3, so he started on the medium tyres. And I said that he would have the good strategy, but it would be a worry if his tyres would help him out at the start or if it would be too slow. But he is actually managing to keep himself in this lead group in 3rd place, and I mean, soft tyres only last about 3-4 laps around this track, so I mean, he's in perfect position in a couple of laps to really attack these 2 leaders. And if he can get himself up into the lead of this race and switch onto the hard tyre with an overcut, he will be in absolute prime position to win this race. So all he's got to do is keep it clean and keep up his current strategy. Obviously could easily be ruined by a safety car or something, but we will have to wait and see. Ooh, very late on the brakes there, and it's kind of causing a concertina behind. That's allowed Jose to get a move on Mikhail. Jose moving himself up into P7 there on the medium tyre, the second of the medium tyre runners up there in P7, so a very solid start for himself as well. And you've got to say that definitely a podium on the cards if he can keep this clean and keep this with the lead group. And speaking of that lead group, look how many cars flash through the screen there as there's a bit more damage. It looks like Mikhail maybe hit the back of Jose there and got some damage, so it's quite unfortunate for him. Jose now looking for a move up the inside. That's a huge lunge on the Mercedes of Juppé, but Juppé gives him the space, and it's still side by side as they come out of the corner, coming into the long left-hander now. Is the respect going to be given? It is, and Juppé just about loses out. Brilliant move there from Jose to move himself up into P6, and he is a man on the move at the start of this race. One of the biggest movers at the moment. It's very wide there by Juppé. That might probably is a warning that the game's given there. As now already Jose looking for the move on GSF. He's not even waiting for the DRS straight, which is coming up in about 10 seconds time, but he's already through on the Alpha as well. Nice move around the outside, switching to the inside for the long right hander, and he's up into 5th place now, hunting down Ezio. Ezio's still in 3rd, but right on the tail of Racing Juice and Mr. Pep. As you can see the rear wing of Racing Juice there, and wow, GSF being attacked here by Juppé. Juppé trying around the outside of the hairpin. Is he going to have the drive? He does. He moves himself up into P6 ahead of GSF there. Great move by Juppé around the outside of the hairpin. Good on the brakes, and overall very nice to watch, as now this top group of about 5 is starting to pull away a bit from that second group. The gap just about a second between Jose and Juppé here, so maybe the soft's starting to die off a bit, and this is working in the medium tyre runners' favours. That's a very good reactions there from Jose to avoid the slow moving Joseph, and making another position up as a result. Up into 4th place now, only Ezio, Racing Juice and Mr. Pep ahead. Of course Ezio being the only other driver inside that top group on the alternate strategy. The alternate strategy, which is very powerful. Moving his way up into the top 10 though is McDusty, who gets ahead of Kaizachi in the McLaren. Kaizachi looking like he's having some issues there as he loses another position to Murphy, but McDusty making himself the 3rd alternate strategy runner in the top 10. And you've got to say, big shout out to Vicky moving himself up into 12th place ahead of a lot of these medium runners on those hard tyres. So Vicky on what is really the best strategy, really making it work at the moment, up into 12th place as we have more fighting. We have a big crash there between, I think that's Mikhail and McDusty. So I was just saying how well McDusty was doing, but he's made contact with Mikhail and he's now back down to 14th place. Mikhail in 15th after a tangle at the long right hander. I didn't quite see what went on there, so not sure whose fault it is, but it looks like there's a lot going on as we come down the back straight. Juppé getting passed by GSF with the DRS there, and Jose getting ahead of Ezio there. So Jose definitely on the move as Racing Juice is the first driver to make a stop in this race. Now is it going to be a 2-stop, or will he choose the hard tyres? Looks like it will be the hard tyres, so front wing change as well. Hard tyres to the end of this race for Racing Juice. He's going for an undercut on his competitors. Look at that, Juppé behind also with the front wing change, so that's going to cost both these drivers a fair amount of time, but definitely worth it overall, I think, as Kaizachi also makes a stop from medium tyres. So Kaizachi trying the 2-stop in this race. See how it works out for him, as Mr. Pep now losing out to Jose, and maybe even Ezio too. Ezio going to try around the outside of the long left-hander. What a move that is. And we have medium runners up into P1 and 2 now. So the alternate strategy really flexing its muscles at the moment. Of course Mr. Pep does have that damage, which doesn't help him at all, but you've got to say this choice to start on the mediums has really worked out for these two, Ezio and Jose, and they've got to be the favourites to win at the moment. Vicky definitely a threat though, as Vicky now up into P7 after the stops, still on those hard tyres with an overcut advantage later on in this race. Joseph now looking for the move on Mr. Pep. He's got it done with DRS and he's going to slot back ahead long before the braking zone, so very nice move there as GSF now under pressure from Murphy. Murphy going up the inside under braking, nice amount of room, but he's just about going to squeeze off, and they're slow on exit, and that's allowing Vicky to get through. Vicky trying to make the pass on both of them now, going to try round the outside of the final corner. There's a contact there, and I think someone's round. They might have just gotten away with it, but Vicky now up into P4 on the hard tyre. He's given the position back to Murphy and Banter Brandon though, as they tried to go round his outside, and the safety car has been deployed here, so gonna have to see what caused the safety car, but I think it would have been a late reaction for it to be whatever went on at the final corner, but that's the only thing that I can see that's happened. So looks like that incident there did cause the safety car, and now these medium runners have got have a choice. You know, they can go hards to the end, which is definitely possible. That puts them on the same tyre as everyone else in this race. Unfortunately for them, it kind of gets rid of the advantage that they were going to have, and it actually looks like the incident here. So Vicky going to be the biggest loser, I think, because he is already on the hard tyre and can't take the medium to the end. He can maybe go medium or medium soft to the end, but I don't think I'd really recommend that. I think he's got to stay out on these hards and hope that he can I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's kind of ruined his strategy a bit. He can't pit for another set of hards, so I think he has to stay out and bite the bullet. It's going to lose him a lot of time, but it's his only option. I think it's better than a two-stop on mediums, unless he does want to risk doing the two-stop on mediums and, you know, being the faster car on the softer tyre, but having to make an extra stop. It depends how much of an advantage he thinks he can gain on the medium tyre, really. Going to be interesting to see as Jose and Ezio both pit. They're going to be followed in by Joseph, as Banter Brandon actually stays out to avoid double stacking with his teammate Ezio, and Vicky does decide to stay out on the hard tyre after all. So gonna have to play the long game here in the Ferrari, as Vlado, another driver who had to stay out here. Well, I say had to, it looks like his teammate didn't pit, so he chose to stay out, in fact. So deciding not to pit for hards to the end is quite an interesting choice, but we'll see where it takes him, because yeah, I honestly don't know. As it's obviously all coming up behind the safety car now in formation. Just gonna have to wait. I think, looking at the gap, that we might get a fairly short safety car period here. The field wasn't too spread out, so maybe next lap we can get the safety car in. Obviously it won't come in this lap because it came out this lap, but yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. I think is the big thing here. Yeah, I was struggling. Well, we'll have to see. I'm quietly hopeful that they know what they're doing. Of course, a lot of these guys do other leagues and stuff, so while I said earlier that China doesn't come up a whole lot in league racing, they might have some idea on strategy. A lot of these guys might have practiced for this race and practiced different strategies, seen what was best. Maybe they practiced safety car situations, or have knowledge on what they would do in case of a safety car at any point in the race. But overall, we just don't know. We're just going to have to find out and see what happens. Obviously safety car is still going round. It looks like Miyake will be forming up to the back of the train soon, and after that we'll just be waiting on GSF, who's coming towards the hairpin now. So GSF going to be the last driver to form up in the safety car group, as Miyake now joins the train. And there's GSF coming through the final corner onto the main straight. The safety car just exiting turn 2 and 3 now, so yeah, should be pretty confidently able to say that safety car should be in this lap. If it's not, there's an issue, but should get the safety car in this lap and go back to some racing, as there's actually looking like there's an issue here for Racing Juice, who's fallen quite far back from Joseph. I would argue that's more than 10 car lengths, in which case he might face a penalty. But, oh well. I know that the 10 car length penalty thing does apply during safety car conditions. It was whether or not it applied during formation lap that I was unsure about, which I don't think it does read in the rules, so all that shenanigans from earlier seems to be fine. Just reading the safety car rules. Without creating an unnaturally big gap in the queue. So I guess the reference for that would be 10 car lengths, I think is what we usually do. But I would call that unnaturally large gap that Racing Juice had earlier. So unless there's some kind of reason for it to be that big, he's probably getting a penalty if anyone decides to report. But we'll right on board with Banter Brandon as the safety car comes to the pit, so it's his choice when he wants to go, and he goes just before the final corner. He's away, and we're back to racing. Once he crosses the line, overtaking will be allowed. Racing Juice with 3 second time penalty for multiple warnings. That'll be for track limits. The first driver in this race to get a track limits penalty, as Vicky then chasing down Banter Brandon. Banter Brandon on the medium tyre, Vicky on the hard, to see what tyre will perform better at this stage of the race. Taking a long time. That camera was I don't know, the camera work at some of these corners is quite poor, because you like sit there and you wait for a car for forever to come through. It just doesn't come. Mr. Pep, who chose the softs for some reason, now fighting with Joseph ahead. Looked like he did get the position for a second, but he lost it again on exit, so maybe Mr. Pep struggling here, as Alex now finding his way through on the Renault driver. Ooh, that's a big touch there between the two. Let's see, as looks like more damage from Mr. Pep, so he had damage at the start of this race. Looks like he's got more again, and that looks like a bit of Racing Point wing that came off ahead, so maybe Jose in a bit of trouble here, as he's lost his left end plate, so one of the drivers who was favourite to fight for the win not too long ago, now in a dangerous position. He's lost his front wing and down in 6th place on the hard tyres, so definitely struggling. He's still going to fight Racing Juice though. Racing Juice just getting ahead into the hairpin though, and now Racing Juice running into the back of Vlado. So Racing Juice losing some of his front wing and Vlado losing 2 positions, so it's a very, very messy restart so far as Jose decides to pit. He won't have another set of hards to go onto though, so I'm not sure what he's pitting for, as Racing Juice allows Vlado to pass once again, and now he's under pressure from Joseph. Joseph trying around the outside of turn 1, small touch there, and he loses momentum through turn 2, and that's allowed Racing Juice to keep the position despite having that damage. So Racing Juice holding on to 5th place for now on the hard tyres, and you can always see Vlado is starting to drop back, 3 seconds separating him and the lead group as he moves aside. I don't know if that's defensive or if he's letting Racing Juice through, but oh, he comes back very dangerously across the track and squeezes Joseph a bit. That's hopefully not giving Joseph any damage. Doesn't look like he does, but it's given Alex damage. He runs into the back of Joseph and spins Joseph. Huge scenes here as Yuppie goes around the outside of it all. Big pile up as a result, but I don't think too many people got more damage, as now Pepper's running to the back of Yuppie, and that was an absolute murder, you've got to say. And now Mr. Pepper's killed Yuppie too. Juppe now down to P12 as Ezio moves his way up into P2 ahead of Vicky. And we have Kaizachi trying to make a move on Murphy here. He gets ahead on DRS. Actually, no DRS. It's still just after the safety car. There's a very strange move there from Daniel. Just touches Kaizachi, but Kaizachi gets through anyway, and Murphy follows him through there. Still side by side as they come to the final corner, and it looks like Kaizachi's had to back out there. That's going to put him under pressure once again from Daniel as we head down the main straight. And this has been one of the craziest safety car restarts I've ever seen. Just contact and incidents everywhere. People getting a bit over aggressive, I think, and oh, that's not good. Hard to tell what went on there. I think that will probably go down as Daniel's fault, as he did kind of lunge it quite late trying to switch sides on Kaizachi, and it was quite questionable about whether he was a half a car length alongside, which of course is the requirement in JVL racing. So what this has done though is it's allowed Mihaki to get himself up into 12th. He was P17 on the restart, back up to P12 already, with his teammate Juppe only 2 places in front. So maybe these two can work together a bit to pull themselves up the order. But we'll just have to look and see who has damage and who doesn't, or who's a bit out of position. But yeah, I briefly mentioned it earlier, but Ezio absolutely on a charge here, and he's moved past his teammate into the lead of this race. I don't think Brandon's really given much of a fight against that. He's on the older, softer tyres, but he's probably coming up to his pit window very soon, and that has put Ezio back up into the lead of this race. So very solid race for Ezio so far, as yeah, pit window now opens for the medium runners. So yeah, you can imagine that Brandon's tyres are getting towards the end of their life. They're probably not feeling too great right now. As we have McDusty and Alex fighting for P6. Alex trying around the outside. McDusty with a bit of damage on his right end plane, but still getting the oh sorry, that's Alex with the damage. Alex getting through. McDusty was on the outside and lost the position. Sorry, my bad. I apparently can't see colours as McDusty runs straight into the back of Alex, not getting any damage of his own for that one, fortunately for him. Hopefully things settle down a little bit now. We have a bit less craziness about hanging on to the back of Brandon now. Not a mile. Already pulling a 2-second gap in 1 lap, so that he's looking like the favourite to win this race at the moment. Great Ezio. And Williams having a solid race overall with the current 1-2, but Brandon will have to pit at some point to get rid of those medium tyres, as McDusty looking for a move, doesn't quite get it there. There's an incident and Daniel's out of this race. Looks like Mikhail was involved, as he rejoins the track safely, and that's a very strange place as the full safety car is out once again. And they can actually pit from mediums to the end if they want, all of these drivers, so mediums can go to the end, and Mr. Pep gets a drive-through penalty for speeding onto the safety car. But I've got to comment on how odd it is where Mikhail and Daniel ended up there. It was before the, well, it was around about the start of the braking zone, but it was on the straight, and maybe someone's moved across a bit aggressively and put them both in a wall, because Mikhail doesn't have a front wing either. But very odd stuff there. We'll have to see if this is the perfect opportunity for Vicky to pit and get some mediums on his car, completing his pit strategy. Vicky definitely a bit saved by the second safety car, especially with that gap that he has over Vlado. 7.5 seconds. I know it's not enough for a pit stop now, but it's a lot of time that he's not losing. You know, if your average pit stop is 22-23 seconds, he can get a pit stop where he's only losing about 15-16 seconds, which half of that gap that he's losing is to empty space. So perfect time for Vicky to pit now onto the medium tyre. We'll just have to see what Ezio and Brandon do ahead. Ezio does pit, so I'm sure he'll go try the mediums to the end. Brandon follows him in. It will have to be hards to the end, I think, for Brandon. Unfortunately for him, as Vicky gets 3 second time penalty for multiple warnings. Unfortunately for him, and that's very slow by Brandon into the pits, trying to limit the damage of the double stack, and he's unfortunately backed up into Vicky. We'll have to see if that gets reported, because if it does, we'll have to see Brandon speed and all that, because if he has backed up in an attempt to gain time by losing less to the double stack, if that makes any sense, that might be a penalty for causing the collision there. But Vicky, look at that, medium tyre, back out into the race in 3rd place. That has worked out an absolute treat for him, for the man that did not set a time in quali and started right at the back of the grid. Now P3 on merit. He's made all of his stops and he's on the faster tyre compared to one of the cars ahead. He's definitely in with a shout of a podium here, especially with Vlado on those hard tyres sat behind him. Vlado didn't have the pace at the last restart, and now he's got the added disadvantage of being on harder tyres. So this could be another crazy restart, but right now the favourites have to be Ezio and Vicky, in all honesty. And again, the field I think is still very close after the last restart, so it should be a fairly short safety car once again. We can get back under racing to find out what's going to go on soon enough. And just looking in the tier 2 chat, seeing if people oh, Mikhail didn't get a setup, and Zab's not very happy with Daniel. Okay, nothing too interested in there though. Unfortunately, I was looking to see if anyone had said something spicy. And Seismix has left the league. Interesting. Okay. Whatever. I know that he retired like 2 corners in. But I don't know. Honestly, I'm just confused. It probably wasn't even that serious. But yeah, he's just left the league, so I guess if you're going to be toxic like that, we don't want you here. You know, we're here to race. Sometimes bad things happen when you're racing. That's the nature of racing. It just happens sometimes. I think if you're going to retire manually in the middle of the track in front of people and cause a collision and then leave the league, I'm sorry, but that's just not really the kind of behaviour you want to see and that we want here. So slightly nicer note, whole grid has now formed up behind the safety car, so we should be expecting the safety car to come in this lap, unless the game decides to annoy us. Yeah. Lap 15, how many laps left? So we'll have about 13 laps of racing left. We are just about over the halfway point. So if we have 13 laps of racing, it'll be quite close with these medium runners actually. I think these medium runners might suffer a bit at the end of the race, but up until the last couple of laps they'll definitely be very strong. There's confirmation that the safety car is in this lap. So yeah, maybe the hards won't be so bad. Maybe Brandon can make them work out for him. Same with Vicky and Alex, but it will be a tough call. But all eyes on how Ezio handles this restart then. Already backing up the pack, coming onto the back straight. They're trying to get as big a gap to the safety car as he possibly can, so that it's less obvious when he's going to go. would probably think that he's going to go at a different point to where the last restart happened to try and catch people out. Maybe he'll wait a bit longer as they come out of the final corner, or wait a bit closer to the line, or maybe he'll go even earlier. Definitely all possible, but we'll have to see as he actually goes in exactly the same place as it happened last time, so probably not catching anyone out. But there was a penalty there for Jose down in P15. A really disappointing second to the half to the race to for Jose, because he was looking like one of the favourites early on here, but has dropped back to P15 ever since that incident, and that first safety car really messed up his strategy. So yeah, well, it didn't really mess up his strategy in all fairness. I mean, Ezio's made it work. It was really the incident, but we now have overtaking between Alex and Kaizachi. Alex making the move work on those harder tyres, so maybe the hard tyres aren't so bad after all. Miyake losing out to GSF here, and Jose getting ahead of Zab, and the two Renaults going at it. Mikhail getting ahead of Mr. Pep. Mr. Pep really having a horrible race after leading at the end of lap 1. He's down in P16 ahead of his teammate only here on lap 16, so hopefully the rest of his race will be a bit less disappointing, as I'm sure he isn't happy at all with how it's gone so far. Look at that lead already. Ezio already with a 1.6 second lead over his teammate Brandon. There's yellows at the back, and it's Mikhail off at the long right hander on the exit of the long right hand. Looks like he's maybe lost traction. We have another safety car, yet another safety car in this race, and I wouldn't advise anyone to pit if I'm being honest, but we do have Banter Brandon in, so he's going to drop right to the back of this field. He's going to be dead last. Yeah, no one else pits, so Brandon will be dead last, and I'm assuming he'll go for the medium tyre. But the field was already bunched up anyway, so this should be the shortest safety car yet. So yeah, just waiting on Brandon to catch the back, and we might get the safety car come in the same lap it came out if he's fast enough, but I doubt it. It's very rare for that kind of thing to happen. We'll have to see at least. Obviously it all depends on when Brandon catches this pack. He's he's about a corner behind them at the moment, so he'll be approaching very quickly, coming through the right hander now, and there he is. He's caught up to the pack, so I mean, safety car could come in this lap. I doubt it will. It very rarely comes in the same lap it came out, but stranger things have happened. At the very least it will definitely come in next lap. As Vicky has left the session, he's disconnected. Was that Vicky 644? I'm going to try and re-invite him. Hopefully that invite reaches him, as he has now rejoined the session. So all should be good if he can take control of his car. Safety car's still out, so that's a bit of a blessing for him there. Won't lose much time. Oh no, he's going to lose a lot of time. He pits. What is the game doing? What's it done to him? Oh no. What's he pitting onto? Hards is that? He's ruined. That disconnect has just ruined his race. Oh no. There's a Jose also pits. Yikes. There's Yuppe and Alex having a bit of a incident here in the middle of the pack. There's Alex passes Yuppe there, and Yuppe passes Alex, and It's not a racing lap, so don't know what they think they're doing. Not supposed to overtake. Looks like they've sorted each other out, I think. Yeah, okay. Looks like they've settled down in the positions they're in. Right. Safety car in this lap. Good stuff we like to see. Vicky's pitted under 14 lap old hards. I've just noticed that. Oh no! That's horrible for him. I don't understand why this game pits. Why did it pit him? There was literally no reason to pit him. He was on fresh mediums that would go to the end. It's so stupid, man. But oh, Vicky's actually. Was that a mistake at the end of the pit straight? Is he lit up the rears and then no? I think that's on purpose. And he's retired manually. Right. But we are back underway as Ezio dashes at the same place again, and that's Vlado way off the track on the restart. I don't know what's happened to him, but he's already down to 7th place. He was nearly in the wall. I don't think he got any damage there, but very odd to see someone all the way over there, especially on a restart. But it looks like someone ahead might have got damaged. Looks all clear so far. But we have Alex and Yuppe now P4 and 5, which is looking much better than it was earlier for these guys. And Murphy, Dusty and Ezio, the top 3. Ezio already pulling a second to McDusty in just one sector. And then Murphy in third. Murphy having a very quiet race. He's kind of come from nowhere, but he is finding himself on the podium at the moment with Yuppe hunting him down. So we'll have to see how this one pans out for the bottom spaces on the podium. Could be a very good fight into the end. Just watching now, see who's going to be close. I've seen no DRS for the next couple of laps because we're come out from a safety car. Obviously safety car is 2 laps without DRS. Let's look at that. Ezio not even completed a single lap yet, but he's already 1.7 seconds ahead, 1.8, as we now have a fight here between Banter Brandon and Jose. Jose still recovering from his earlier incident. Jose on the softs, not sure I would have chosen those tyres to start this race, but they're definitely working out for him right now as he moves up past Zab and Mr. Pep too, so great moves going on here from him as Pep now finds himself in the pit lane. And that moves Brandon up into P13. Obviously, full retirement so far in this race. Only 15 runners remaining. And Racing Juice is a long way behind. 30 seconds behind the pack already. So I don't know what's happened to him, but nothing good. It seems like Jose already passing Miyake. He's on an absolute charge at the moment on these softer tyres, but I don't think they'll last to the end if I'm being honest. And now Vlado's getting passed by GSF. GSF making it work on the outside. Vlado not able to get the traction on the harder tyre, and Brandon moving past Zab. So yeah. Oh, your LAN cable disconnected and connecting them. That's horrible. I've never seen that happen before. But Jose now passing Vlado, and he's already looking like he wants to move on GSF. If he was smart, he would have waited to the detection point so that he doesn't just get repassed again as GSF runs into the back of him. Doesn't look like any damage for either driver though. And we'll have to see if GSF can get a pass back, as there's a huge incident there. It's Banter Brandon. He's just lost traction by the looks of it. He's ended up in the wall at the long right hand on the exit, and he's just retired from the race on the spot. Manually, of course. So that won't cause any kind of safety car. Retiring manually doesn't usually do that, as he's now going to lose out to Pep and Racing Juice. No, Jose got a charge down on the front leading group here of Joseph, Kaizachi, Alex, Yuppe, Murphy and McDusty. While he can, while those tyres still have life. Of course, the softs only usually last about 3-4 laps and then they die. So he's got a very limited window in which to make this progress, but he is making it rapidly at the moment. We'll just have to watch out for this gap as the race goes on. Other very small gap here is we have Vlado and Zab fighting over P11 here. Vlado on the hard tyres, Zab on the mediums, but Vlado looking like he's got the better confidence at the moment on those harder tyres for some reason. Was able to keep within about 3/10 through a section where there was a lot of dirty air, but it looks like he's made a small mistake there. He's back down to 9/10 behind, so unlikely that he's going to be able to make a move here on the back straight. Really, same story for everyone. Closest gap here is Kaizachi behind Alex, but we do have a move for P2. Murphy trying to make his way past McDusty. McDusty here just about having enough room. Murphy with a small touch losing all of his momentum on the inside and can't get the move done as a result, as yeah, McDusty holding on to P2. JVL Yuppe now very close to the back of Murphy and maybe looking away to take this podium position from the Alpha Tauri. Not going to happen into turn 1 by the looks of it. Just following through here. Of course, he has Alex still hot on his tail. Alex on the hard tyres with some great pace, it's got to be said, considering the tyre disadvantage that he has. Just watching 3/10 here between Yuppe, 3/10 back to Alex too. Joseph making a pass on Kaizachi. That's a bit unexpected considering that people were saying that Kaizachi might overtake Alex, but it's actually gone backwards after all that. He's gone up, back up the inside of Alex. Alex with a mistake there, and now they're both round, and ooh, that's a bit messy. Jose looking like he got involved there too, but it got away without any further damage. Alex also somehow without damage, and that's unacceptable. There's another safety car, but I am telling you now that Joseph will not be appearing in next week's race. As a Tier 2 steward, I can tell you 100% as GSF gets a drive-through penalty for speeding under safety car from 7th place. That's very unlucky, but I can tell you 100% that Joseph will not be racing next week. That was unacceptable. He's just intentionally tried to take out Kaizachi there after the earlier incident, and that has resulted in his own DNF. Kaizachi fortunately survived, but we'll have to pit, I think, for a front wing change. And I don't even think the incident was really anyone's fault. There was 2 drivers going into one narrow corner, and it just didn't quite work out this time. What this will be good for though is Jose. A couple of laps behind this safety car will help protect his tyres a bit, and that is not bad at all. It will help close that gap that he has to Yuppe as well. Yuppe now on the podium, as it looks like McDusty has ended up in a bit of trouble. He actually pitted for a set of softs, which will work very well to the end. It will be very interesting to see where the likes of McDusty, Alex, Vlado and Kaizachi finish up in this race, because they are in very strong positions right now. And Racing Juice too, who opts for a set of softs, so that could help him out on this safety car restart. So yeah, another safety car, the 3rd safety car of this race. Yeah, not really what you want to see, to be honest. Now we've got to wait for the whole pack. It's probably the most spread the pack's been all race. I'm just going to look back on that incident there that obviously brought out this safety car, because I honestly can't believe what I saw. So they were coming through. Joseph went for the move on Alex and turned in on Alex, spinning himself. And Kai's actually went up the inside. Joseph then came through and just didn't brake, taking out Kaizachi as he did it. He's you can't do that. This is a streamed league race, and this it wasn't. I from the camera angle, at least the stream saw it. That wasn't even Alex's fault. That was probably just a racing incident. It was an aggressive move from Joseph, and it's unfortunately not worked out. They had contact, and the game's pretty poor physics turned them both round. But to go ahead and intentionally take out other driver, the wrong driver at that, he hit the wrong driver, unfortunately for Kaizachi. So yeah, he will not be racing next week. In fact, he will not be racing ever again. He's left the league. 2 drivers leaving the league after this race is not really what you want to see. Now we've got to sit behind the safety car. Safety car in this lap, so lap 25 will be the first full lap of racing. And we'll have 4 full laps of flat-out racing to the end of this race. Not really sure why there's still people on mediums, but I'm sure this will be a good end to the race with these drivers on softs looking to make up progress. It will be quite interesting to see how well Jose's tyres have held on as well with the help of this safety car. He could be in for a podium here if he plays his cards right. Just looking at the grid, leaving there, Ezio, is he going to go in yet the same place again? Yeah, he came out of the hairpin then, so he's not really thought about going for the idea of waiting to the start-finish line to bolt, which is fair enough. Some tracks it works, sometimes it won't, but it seemed to work out pretty well for him so far. Is going out at the hairpin, is he's already only 2 corners into a lap, but he's pulled a second on Murphy. Murphy caught napping a bit there as Alex with another fight with McDusty. With the camera angle, we can't see it. Alex losing out there to McDusty, unfortunately for him, but both drivers on the fresh, soft tyres, so they both really need to focus on moving forwards rather than fighting each other, as Alex with a huge corner cut there. I'm fairly certain he got a warning for that from the game, so maybe on the edge of another penalty, maybe not, as he goes up the inside of McDusty with a great late move, and he's made it work, so hats off to him for that one. But Miyake ahead now on 11 lap old mediums, going to be in a lot of danger here from Alex, as Alex decides not to go for the move just yet. Of course, no DRS yet, so it doesn't quite matter, but he will get the better traction out. The long right hander is going to go round the outside through that long right hander, already alongside Miyake as we pull onto the back straight, and he is ahead. Wow, what a move! That was great racing from the pair of, oh my god, this game. Let me see. Well, as Miyake dives Alex, but Alex gets the switch back to absolute perfection and gets P5 for his troubles. Now let's see, is McDusty going to be able to follow him through? Miyake on the back foot after being passed, coming onto the main straight. Is this going to be a chance for McDusty? We have Racing Juice making up positions in the background. Racing Juice, who was P13 and last on the restart, now up into P9 getting points, which is, I'm sure, surprising for him given how the second safety car restart went. But yeah, up into the points for Racing Juice. Nice stuff from the Ferrari driver, going a lot better than his teammate's race unfortunately did. His teammate obviously being Vicky, Vicky in that great podium position before the disconnect, which ruined his race. Now we have Vlado looking for the move on Miyake. Miyake falling backwards and backwards and backwards. He's going to regret not pitting, I think, especially since his teammate didn't pit. But we have Vlado moving his way up into P7 ahead of Miyake, and now Miyake's going to be under pressure from Racing Juice. Let's see, Racing Juice right on his tail. Of course, there's still no DRS, so he doesn't have to worry about that DRS detection point, as he's going to go up the inside into this little section here. He gets the move done into the left-hander, so he can take the racing line for the right-hander, which comes onto the big main straight. P8 there for Racing Juice. These soft tyres working out beautifully for those who chose to start on them. But we do have 2.3 seconds ahead of Alex to Jose here. Jose, who's right in this battle for P2 after Ezio has checked out. As Racing Juice gets another move, he gets Vlado into the hairpin with what looks like a very late braking move, as we have Kazuchi making contact with Miyake in the background, and he's turned round and out of the points, unfortunately. So a very disappointing end to this race for Kazuchi, and I'm sure he was hoping for better given how the first part of this race went. But now Vlado and Racing Juice still very close together, as looking like Jose might be falling off the back of Yuppie. Those soft tyres maybe not hanging on as well as he hoped. Alex charging down on Jose, looking for that P4 in the Haas. And just looking at the gaps now, it is starting to spread out a bit. Vlado falling off the back as Jose gaining again to that middle sector. Yuppie unable to keep so close, but now we have DRS enabled. Let's see what these drivers can do. Obviously they all mostly will have full batteries due to the safety car, so they can use as much of it as safe full batteries. Jose already derating, and so is Yuppie ahead. So these guys are using their batteries in the first couple of laps there, and now have no juice left as Ezio comes through to start the final lap of this race. Is there going to be any late race last lap moves? Is Alex going to be able to get close enough? It doesn't quite look like it at the moment. Maybe not quite having the pace to catch up to these guys who obviously have the DRS now. The DRS making a huge difference in terms of straight line speed and overall pace at a track like this. So yeah, it is obviously, once the DRS is enabled, a lot harder to start closing that gap, and given the fact it's the last lap and the gap is still 1.3, 1.2, 1 second now, it will be a bit difficult for him to get close enough to make a move unless he has a lot more ERS, which he doesn't. So not got massive hopes on Alex making any moves here, but I'd say, given his position, that the soft tyre gamble has worked out fairly well for him, and looking at what happened to Miyake, definitely better where he'd likely be right now. So all of these guys in softs, I could say, made the right choice, and yeah, gonna maybe create quite an interesting end to this race, but I don't think anyone's quite got the chance to get a move off coming into this final hairpin. Looks like it will be Ezio who crosses the line to take the win, Murphy in P2 and Yuppie in P3 rounding out the podium here. And looking at how penalties finish this race, it's going to be Jose in P4 with McDusty in P5, Alex in P6, Vlado in P7, Miyake in P8, Racing Juice in P9, Mr. Pep in P10. Kaizachi getting the point right at the end there in P10. So not all is lost for the McLaren driver after quite a horrible second half to this race. And he finishes ahead of Miyake, who unfortunately there doesn't get any points for this race after his decision to stick on the medium tyres. Driver of the day, Jose. Yeah, definitely a good shout there. Jose, very solid race from him. unfortunate not quite to get the podium at the end, especially with how good his pace was at the start of the race. He looked like he could have got a win, but unfortunately it just didn't stay that way for him because of the first safety car. But definitely a shout for driver of the day. Wow. As we finish the podium here, so slowed please. There is your winner, Ezio, with the fastest lap as well, so taking maximum points away after his P9 start. Second place Murphy, who started P10, which you would argue is the worst position to start, but very nice. Remember Yuppe starting P3, finishing P3, solid race from him. Jose starting P13, finishing P4, and McDussy starting P15, finishing P5. Very solid races all round. Alex only making up one position, but that's fair enough. Vlado P17 to P7, again a very solid race. Miyake, Racing Juice and Kaizachi rounding out the points. Mr. Pep and Zab not getting points right at the end there because of their penalties, and GSF P13 and last of the finishers. Joseph, Brandon, Vicky, Mikhail, Daniel and Seismix did not finish after what was a fairly crazy race, and all of those restarts were mad. Ezio was honestly flying if not for the safety car. Yeah, he would have lapped a few cars in this race if it wasn't for those safety cars. So big shout out to Ezio there. He did a very good job today. So now, yeah, that's going to be it from this stream. Thank you to everyone who came and watched. I'm sure there's going to be a lot for the stewards to do after that one. In fact, there's no way there's not a lot for the stewards to do after that one. That was an absolutely mental race, especially with those restarts. So yeah, congrats to the podium guys. Thank you all for coming. Make sure to check out the Tier 1 stream, which will be on Thursday, and then the Tier 3 stream, which will be on Sunday. Again, same time, 6 PM UK time, just like this stream was. And also make sure to check out PC, which is on a day at some point that I don't remember. So yeah, that's going to be it from me. Thank you all for coming, and have a very nice evening.